Hey guys, so today I'm going to be showing you around my remix of Apollo, a song by Hardwell and Abba Shepherd that came out a few years ago. And even though this remix is old, I've had a lot of requests to show you how I made the drop to this remix. So I'm just going to take you around and maybe show you a few tricks along the way. So bear with me, guys. This is the drop. I've kind of isolated only the instruments I use in the drop, not the break. Maybe I can do a break tutorial another time, but this one is going to be specifically about the drop. So let's just basically listen to everything soloed, and I'll tell you what I did and why I did it. So the first main sound and basically the bass sound behind the song is this sound right here. And that is the same sound that you've heard in Rip It Up. It's the same sound that you've heard in my Breaking Your Fall remix of Danny Villa a long time ago. I've used this sound a lot, and I actually just posted a tutorial on this specific sound. But that's basically the sample I used. So I sampled it myself, and I resampled it. And that's what I used. As far as EQing goes, I didn't really do too much. I put some distortion on this. Here we are, bass one. So I have a little bit of distortion. I have a sidechain compression. I'm not using this envelope shaper. So as you can see, I cut the lows a bit, and I cut out some frequencies I didn't like. But I didn't do a ton of processing to this synth, but I did double the synth. So I have 1, 2, and this second one is processed differently. I'll let you take a listen. So, and when they're on top of each other, I got this really full sound. So let me go back, and I'll solo this one as well, and let you guys just take a quick listen. All right, so that's the two bass synths that are basically driving through the entire drop. Now on top of that, I layered. Well, I'll show you this little guy right here. As a little fill in between the notes, I wanted a cool sound, so I made this little synth. And if I bring back this bass, you'll hear it when it comes in. So I went bum bum boo ba 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 boo ba 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 boo. Kind of a call and response type thing. Now the next sound right here is following that bass lead, but I did it with my classic Fall Into the Sky bass sound, and I just followed that exact same bass line, but with MIDI notes this time, so it's not audio, and it sounded like this. And this synth has 3 oscillators going on. I have this wet bass, which is the main bass that you're hearing, a little bit of a format saw on top of it, which is a format sounding synth, and then just a sine bass, sub bass underneath it, and that's that synth. And so that's following those basses above, but this one is a little bit cleaner and a little less distorted. And then the final piece to this syncopated synth line is the Bleepy Synth, which is really simple, just one oscillator sawtooth, a little bit of a high pass filter on it, and some distortion. And that's literally it, and that sounds like this. Now when I layer the other bass on top of it, I'll let you guys hear it all. Big bleep. Now we have Fall Into the Sky. We have that little fill. And we have the Rip It Up bass. So this is essentially what I did to the remix before I brought in any stems from the original track. So I came up with it. I'd been listening to the song. I got the opportunity to remix it, and I really wanted this remix to use the stems halfway with in the remix. I wanted to use half his synth line and half mine, because generally when I remix, I used to just like use the break from the original song and write a completely new drop, and I wanted to challenge myself to really make a remix that used both parts. So the next step that I did, I'll get to this stuff in a second, is adding the Hardwell stem. So let me unsolo those things so we can just listen to that. So I had that syncopated line, and I just took the main Apollo line, which is, I'll just bring this over here. And if I stretch this out, you can take a listen here. We're all pretty familiar with that synth line. And basically, I just found different sections in this. I particularly liked this section right around here. And I filled those into areas of my bass line where I'd left space open. So basically, in between all of the percussive synths, I wanted a Hardwell sound. So you can hear this is kind of where it went. I'll bring in a kick just so you can get an idea of the tempo. So you can definitely tell that section is from Apollo, but I took away so much of it that it allowed me to bring in my own synths as well. So let's take a look at a few other synths. So for this section here, that goes ba-na-na-na-na-na-na, I wanted that to have a little bit more to it. So I also added I added two other synths. So I did this synth, which I named Kick Out because it sounded like Kick Out the Epic Motherfucker when I made it years and years ago. But it sounds like this. It's kind of my chainsaw bass. And I just have that I automated a filter to bring that in slowly. And then I also have this guy here, which is just a thick saw. And that saw is following the same line. And this is just the line from Apollo. And so when that's layered with this as well, you get, it kind of sounds like it's growing out on you because I automated those two other synths on top of this synth. All right, so I've showed you all of the synths. Now I'll get to the drums. The drums are very simple. Last unmuting. I'm sorry about all this muting and unmuting or soloing. It's kind of annoying. Anyways, so as you can see, here are my kicks, and I had 2 kicks. This is my main kick here. And I found that kick to be a little bit too bassy, so I noticed when I layered it with this kick, which is very small, it actually it phased out some of the bass from the kick. It made it just quick and punchy and not too subby. See, if I take away this one, it gets a bit subbier. And that started clashing with some of the synths because there's so much going on in this drop. There's so many different synths and frequencies filling up the spectrum. I had to have a kick that was pretty short, small, with a quick punch, but I couldn't have a lot of sub going on in it. Now, I had a really hard time finding a clap for this, and I really loved the clap/snare that Hardwell used in his original of Apollo, but he didn't include it in the stems that were given to me, and so I just snatched the snare straight out of the intro. So that's right here. If I bring this out, I'll show you how I did that, in case you're not familiar. So here's the intro right here. So I found that second snare to be the cleanest to chop out. So I basically just cut around that snare, and I was left with these guys. Now I liked the pre-shifted sound that he brought in before the snare. So I did a small fade, as you can see here, that faded in to the snare so that I got a little bit of that pre-shifted snare. I'll solo that so you can hear it. This is without the pre-shift. And this is with the pre-shift. You heard it went before, and I really did like that. Now, he did have a kick layered beneath this snare, so I had to get rid of all the lows. So I just threw on a simple EQ right here, and I basically cut out almost all the lows. I brought it down 8 dB, and then as you can see here, I threw on another equalizer, and I cut a ton of the low out. So, but none of the mid and highs. So I kept that original sound, and I was left... Oops. I was left with this sound here. Now I'll turn off those EQs so you can hear what it sounded like without that. there's definitely a kick under there. So I EQ'd that out. And that mixed pretty well with it. Now, I just have a really short white noise here at the beginning. I like to do this in the beginning of one beats because on the first beat, you want something to be recognizable so people know where they are in the song subconsciously, and the DJ wants to know it consciously so they know when and when not to mix in. The one is always very important. So on that first beat, I like to put something, whether it be a cymbal, whether it be white noise or whatever, but for this one, I just did white noise like that. And that won't happen again until the next one beat, which is 4 measures down. All right. I have 2, let's see, 1 little white noise down sweep thing to add excitement when it drops. And then I think this is another like clap down sweep that I layered on top. And that's it. The only thing I haven't showed you here is I have a little snare that I ended at the end of each measure. And then on the very end here, I have this little pitch down thing from Apollo. Error. I like that. And that right there, my friends, is how I made the drop. So if you have any questions about this drop, I'd love to go into it even more. But it's a pretty simple drop, as you can see. I pretty much just have 5 or 6 layers going on throughout the whole thing. But each layer really plays an important part. Let me just show you what it sounds like with the Hardwell stem and without it, and you can see how much just adding that original Hardwell stem in there made this remix sound better. So this is without it. So I think that added a lot, and it was really fun to play around with these stems because I loved the original so much. All right, guys, I hope this tutorial was helpful for some of you. I know a lot of you wanted to see what this remix looked like, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Check back here.